Ladies and gentlemen, boys and ghouls, to all of our non-binary friends, to everyone on the spectrum, and in between, welcome to another episode of The Shutter Show. My name is Ken Stacknick, and with me, as always, is...
David Marlowe.
David, how you doing today?
Ken, living the dream day by day.
Good to hear.
Surviving life. How about you, good sir? How you doing?
Oh, not too bad. Let's see here. I'm getting ready to, it looks like, go back to Hawaii for another job or so. So I am moving and shaking and doing all the things that you need to do for that to happen. So that's fun and exciting. Get ready for the holiday, of course. And let's see here. And then other than that, I don't know. Oh, David, what have you been up to?
Well, we're back from our honeymoon and just kind of adjusting to the married life. And by that, I mean, we never see each other because we're back at our jobs. We're currently installing a set for this. First, we installed a set for this premiere for the Netflix show Arcane. And now we're doing this live event that's going to be going on for a couple of days here in Los Angeles. And the set is really cool. It is insane. I'm beginning to get a little concerned with the company that I'm working for, whose name I will not mention just because I am not ready to leave this job just yet. But apparently they worked one of our crews a straight 22 hours.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And then they only gave them an 8-hour turnover. So they worked from 6 a.m. in Santa Monica all the way up till 3 a.m. And they make a lot of our crew guys drive together in a crew van so no one can leave. So even if someone said, I'm not putting up with this anymore, well, how are you going to get home, buddy?
Cool.
But that 8 hours doesn't include the time that it takes to get back home from Santa Monica because our shop is located in the Valley and most of our people live in the Valley. So one of our new guys apparently fell asleep at the wheel and crashed his car. He's fine, but his car is totaled. He has no transportation now, and the company is refusing to help him. So there's a real, because for those of you who don't live in LA, or work in the industry at all right now, I'm sure you've seen that there's the news about the once impending strike with IATSE and all of that stuff going on. And of course, I'm sure everyone's seen what's going on with Rust. So yeah, I learned about this 22-hour day yesterday. We're all getting a little worried that our company's getting a little bold with the hours, because a 22-hour workday plus with an 8-hour turnover. So leaving at 3 a.m. and coming back at 11 a.m. it seems like it's going to spell disaster eventually.
Yeah, that seems bad, David.
Yeah. Oh, it's bad. I work for a non-union shop too. So this place I work for we get to do, I enjoy the work I do. I love the carpenters I work with. Management is a whole nother ball game. There are some things we have been asked to do that make me very uncomfortable. There's so many times I've had to rig up things 4 stories high with no fall equipment.
Wow.
Yeah. It's God, what was it? I had to knife this big giant wall covered in MDF with only one other guy, and it was super top heavy, and he couldn't carry all the weight. And so the wall just kind of picked me up. I'm like, well, I'm letting go of this thing. And just there's a bunch of shiners in that wall because we had to rush it out. And so
I'm sorry, what's a shiner?
A shiner is a nail or a screw that someone did not properly fix into the piece, and so it is
Oh,
jutting out. So
ah,
as I let go of the wall, it just took a nice little chunk of skin like off my pinky finger, and it's been healing for a couple days now. So it's just, yeah, I know I got a little boo boo.
I'm I'm sorry, buddy. That's a bummer. Um, well,
Yeah, but to lighten that, really, really. Sorry, I didn't mean to darken the room a little bit, but yeah, no, sorry. Thanks for
yes.
bringing it up because, like, I think it's
Speaking of dark rooms, David, where the movie that we're talking about today happens to feature an awful lot of dark rooms. David, what movie are we talking about today?
and we are watching Night of the Demons, the 1988 cult film. And Ken, you have seen this film before, like you
Yes.
before we watched this, you had seen it. I knew nothing about it in the
Mhm.
slightest.
Yep.
Like, though, once I saw the poster art for it, I'm like, oh, I have seen that movie every time I've walked through the horror aisle at my Blockbuster Video or my box office video, which was like 3 blocks away from me, and I was there all the time. But yeah, I remember that cover art like nobody's business. I'd never seen the movie, but apparently this director has done a bunch of films with really good cover art, that just kind of goes, oh, I'd really like to check that out at some point. I don't know. Yeah, Ken, when did you see this film?
I saw this movie originally, I want to say when I was like 24, 25, and I was just kind of going through the single location horror movie, once I checked out all the Cabin in the Woods movies, and then it was looking at, your various old dark house movies, and then you have your creepy castle movies. There are a lot of gothic horror films that kind of take place in one particular location, and as a low budget filmmaker, that's always something that I was looking at. How can I take, basically, I mean, this takes place technically in a couple of spots. You have the gas station, and you have the country roads, and then I guess you have just outside, but it's pretty much all in that house there. And so it was just one of those movies on the list of movies like those to check out. And I just remember it being a ton of fun. I remember, and then now coming back and visiting it again, I think a lot to appreciate about it that I hadn't before. I remembered it mostly just being a ton of fun, and that was kind of why I threw it up there. I kind of figured our audience was going to go with, was it Carrie or was it Razorback
No, it
that
was
we
Razorback. Razorback was
Razorback?
the other.
Yeah. I kind of assumed everybody was going to go with Razorback,
I
but
was surprised.
yeah, and which is totally fine. And as long as Razorback is still up there at some point, we will throw back to Razorback, because I love me some Russell Mulcahy, and I
And
love
I
me
and I've
some.
never seen that one either.
Oh,
So
it's so awesome. But we're not talking about that movie tonight. We are talking about
no.
Night of the Demons from 1988, not to be confused with the 1957 movie Night of the Demon, directed by Jacques Tourneur, starring what is definitely a demon and not a Bigfoot, as you had said previously. You big
Though I
weirdo.
do think that there is like a 70s film called Night of the Demon that's about Bigfoot. I'm pretty sure
Okay.
I've heard of it somewhere because I was looking for this title, and it was one of the movies that popped up. If you can find it, let me know. And if I find it, I will send it your way. We'll post a picture of it on our Instagram. Uh, um,
Oh,
but
okay. Yeah,
yeah.
1980. There's a movie,
Oh,
Night of the
okay.
Demon. Film centers on an anthropologist along with his young pupils, who embark on an expedition to prove the existence of Bigfoot in the rural region of, and then I can't read anymore. But there you go. You got the words Night of the Demon. So yes, it's not the 1980 movie Night of the Demon, which is about
Oh,
Bigfoot, or the other
his
day
poor
Night of the
poople.
Demon. Yes, this is Night of the Demons, plural, directed by Kevin Tenney, written and produced by Joe Augustyn. And it was, well, to me, all right, so here is why I threw this movie out there. It is the most 80s movie. if you want, like, this to me belongs in the Criterion collection for the same reason that Armageddon belongs in the Criterion collection, because it is a perfect encapsulation of a genre, time, and place. If you want to know what an 80s, like, low budget horror, zany comedy that's kind of like that, that's in the slashery genre, but that really encapsulates everything that you'd find in an 80s movie, this is it. And I mean that with all of the positives and all of the negatives that are involved there, just like with Armageddon. Like 90s action movies had big bad soundtracks, and Armageddon does too. And they are you know, those movies were bloated, and Armageddon is too. And like Night of the Demon, kind of misogynistic. Definitely got some gratuitous, unnecessary.
Kind of misogynistic.
It's got a lot of gratuitous nudity in it. It has got a lot of unnecessary gore. It has got a lot of over the top this and that. It is got a lot of smoke and backlight and everything that you expect from a checklist of 80s horror movies. This checks those boxes for better and for worse.
Now, Ken, I meant to. I'm going to ask you this because my ADD is going to completely forget it before this episode is over. So, you and I both watched the making of. I think it was like an hour and like 15 minutes. Like along with like me reading a couple of interviews and watching a few other discussions here and there. But one of the things that they had a whole segment on was the blue smoke.
Yes,
that they use in this film. Is that smoke still like, because they like to give context to this?
It is absolutely not.
Yeah, so it just kind of, it gives the movie its look and its vibe, its kind of creepiness to it. I don't know what it consists of, and I want to get all this information from you here. But like the cast was talking about how for days they were blowing their nose and finding just blue, like almost like they were like a Smurf that had some kind of weird cancer. Yeah, apparently that was just one of the problems that the cast members had to deal with, along with like insane hours and hours of like really torturous makeup sessions. But yeah, so what is that? What is that blue smoke?
Okay, so the exact chemical composition of that smoke, I am not sure, but okay, so how you get smoke or haze into movie sets nowadays is you get a smoke machine, which has a water soluble spray in it, and that goes into the smoke machine. That gets heated up. Over in the machine, and then it gets aerosol and sprayed out, and that swirls around. And it is the stuff that is SAG approved. It is the stuff that is okay for kids to be around. It has been known to give some people headaches, but also, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that just happens to give people headaches, but it is safe. There's now, before that, you would use what was an oil-based smoke. That would also come out of a machine, and that was really heavy as well. But that one just made you feel slick. It definitely got in your lungs. It just left a film on everything. Smoke looked great, but it was definitely not good for you to
baller.
Yeah, but it was not good for you to inhale because it was oil based. And then there's the older way, which is this solid based, where literally it was like a blue puck of, I'm assuming, some sort of aluminum, some sort of phosphate. I'm sorry, I'm not a chemist. And this stuff was banned long before I was allowed to start making movies. But basically, you light it on fire, kind of like a puck of incense, and then you put it in a cast iron pan, and then you walk it around the set with a little piece of cardboard or something to just kind of waft it back and forth. And you walk it all around the set, and then you walk out of the set. You walk out of the shot, and they call action, and it looks great. It leaves the inside of all of your nose, yes, completely blue, like for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks if you're in this stuff. And it was the industry standard for a long time, but it is no longer allowed. It is no longer allowed on sets here in America. What the international rules are, I don't know. I will say this: it's good looking smoke. That said, would if I was perhaps in a country and could use that smoke, would I? Maybe, depending on the circumstances.
So
And
like,
also,
mostly just like you just want to give it a try. You want to see what it's like.
well, I would be interested in trying it. And if there was no alternative, like there was no other kind of smoke machines, then yeah, sure. Of the other options, it seems better than oil. But
I'm guessing it was banned for cancer reasons.
it's yeah, it was yeah. I mean, just turning the inside of everybody's noses blue means something's happening that's probably not good.
God damn it. Okay, so yeah. So this I mean a pretty much a flashcard of an 80s horror film is what this puppy is. Like it does this is one of those films where upon viewing it, especially when you're I could see watching this with nostalgia glasses, get it like people loving this. I get why this is a cult film. I think it is very interesting to watch it for the first time in the modern day.
I mean, okay, yes. I think you need to remember, like, there's a generation of kids who saw this movie when they were 13.
Yeah.
And I think I feel the way about The Warriors is probably the same way that you
Yeah.
felt. Like, I saw The Warriors for the first time when I was like 31. Like, it was just one of those movies I never got around to for no reason at all. And then when I saw it, I was like, this movie's awesome. But if I had seen this movie when I was 13, I would have been obsessed for the rest of my life with this movie.
Oh, I saw The Warriors when I was 15.
Yeah, okay, totally.
I fucking love that movie.
Yeah,
That
no,
movie
and
is
but
so good.
but you can understand that if I knew nothing about The Warriors and I saw it for the first time today, I might be like, this is cool, but like, I don't know if it's that cool. It's got some problematic elements to it. And you know what I mean? And so that to me is what's fun about this. Now, there are going back and watching this new print that is available, not seeing this on VHS, man, was I kind of impressed with the simple camera work, a lot of nice little dolly moves, nice little tilts, a lot of little nice use of handheld, great minimalist, fast, low budget lighting. This movie was done for around $1 million, which is very impressive for the amount of makeup work that they have. The makeup work, I think, is something we definitely need to talk about. That's a guy named Steve Johnson, who had gotten his start on a bunch of bigger movies,
Ghostbusters for one.
Yeah. And they went when they came to this movie, they decided that what they wanted to make sure that they did was hire the best person for the job. And what they meant by that was not the best person in the industry, not the most famous person in the industry, the best person for this job. Somebody who had the experience, who had the talent, who had the inspiration, who had the drive to just hit this at 1,000 miles per hour, just like hit it full on hammer and tongs, and do that without having too much money. And boy, do they find it with Steve Johnson. When you consider how much time and money they didn't have, the work here is really, really impressive.
Yeah. No, I like and I will 100% agree on that note, is that no, the creature effects were great. They're like when it came to the overall look of the film, you can tell it's professionally done. Like the camera angles are creative, the set is dressed well, like it's, and this is an abandoned Tudor style house in the middle of like downtown Los Angeles, but somehow they were able to make it look like it's in the middle of fucking nowhere.
That was a big old matte painting that they did.
Oh, was that a matte painting?
Yeah, big old matte painting.
Okay.
Yeah, like around the house. So like that house is now, that house is now a Ralph's. But yeah, they basically they had the house there, and then they did a whole matte painting around it.
Yeah, it no longer exists, and so yeah, if So if you're going to a Ralph's in downtown Los Angeles, there is a chance that your rotisserie chicken might be haunted.
That's 100% possible.
But no, like there was a lot. There's a lot to take away in this movie. I did not go fully without appreciating what it was putting out there. I think constantly what I am always thinking to myself with movies like this, I'm like, why are all of these people friends with each other? They're all such fucking assholes to each other and to people in general. Why would you ever want to spend any time with, like, especially like the lead girl, like the final girl in this?
Mhm.
You're just like, I don't think these people are her type.
Yeah, I mean, the movie. Look, David, I'm not arguing that this movie is perfect under any circumstances. I think this movie is very clever. I think this movie is very scrappy, and I would also say this movie is very cheeky because it has a lot of light nudity and then also some just full-on nudity and then some very
there's
spooky nudity.
push.
Like this movie has a cornucopia of nudity to it, and in a way that only the 80s could. But I do like that. I would like, looking at it now from 2021 eyes, there should have been some male nudity in there. That would just make it fair across the board, and there's not really that.
Yeah.
Okay, we're
but
sorry.
In that day and age, like if you're making a horror movie, it's going to be a lot harder to sell it if there aren't tits.
It was literally in the contracts that it had to be. And that, I mean, say what you want. It's something that this movie does do. I will say the scene that happens with the lipstick is impressive. Is impressive on a creative level, on a technical level, on its ability to fake you out. It is using the things that are required of a movie like this.
Yeah.
If you have this checklist, like all right, one of the things I love about this movie the most is the dynamic of the killers is really nice in that it starts with, what is it, 8 kids, right? And then a demon possesses one of them, so now it's 7-1, and then it's 6-2, and then it's 5-3, and then it's 4-4, and then as things go on, everybody's not getting killed; they're getting demonized. And it's flipping the odds more and more, kind of taking things away from, say, the slasher genre and taking some more from almost the Night of the Living Dead or Dawn of the Dead. I mean, like any of the zombie movies, really. And I mean, I think that's really
or even like, pod people, that whole general thing of like, oh, my friend is now this other worldly being now that now I have to all of a sudden defend myself against.
Yeah, I mean, you can't deny the influence of Evil Dead on this movie. This movie would not exist without Evil Dead, but that's the nature of so much of low budget
camera.
Well, I mean, like, yeah, exactly, down to the tracking camera, but also to there's just a lot of interesting angles. I mean, when you said before that the movie was professionally made, I would take it a couple steps farther than that. It is, I mean, it's not Mario Bava level, but like there is some really, really clever, simple camera work and tricks that they are doing that are something that any low budget filmmaker making movies today or just putting stuff on YouTube can find inspiration and find use in today. Where a lot of times when you go and you look at some of the older effects, when you look into what was necessary to achieve them, you're like, well, I don't have a 190-foot techno crane.
Well, what was the first film that we covered? It was Street
Trash.
Yeah, Street Trash. We went over Street Trash. Like watching a film like that, if you're just watching it regularly, not as a filmmaker, but just as a regular person wanting to see a flick, you're not gonna you're not gonna make much out of the Steadicam work in that film, or like how the shot goes down, like the crane goes down, and all of a sudden then just steady cams out. That's not something you're going to take into account. And I think easily the same thing goes for a film like this. There's a lot of things that if you're not looking for it, you're going to miss it.
Exactly. You're not thinking that you're going to find this level of quality in a movie like this, and you are. And I want to say to all the low budget filmmakers out there, what you can do with a Steadicam, you can do with like $150 Ronin and your iPhone. Is it going to be as good? No, it's not going to be as good. Will it be really, really damn close? Yes. Can you find inspiration here? Yes. Can you find tricks, ways to just improve your shot by 10% by being like, oh, I love the way that he came around. And then he came around the character, around, him 100%. And now it's like this 50-50 shot instead. Oh, that's really cool. And a lot of times that's what I find in some of these lower budget movies is that kind of inspiration. One of the things I love about this movie, I think that we can both agree is one of its strengths is its title sequence. You just don't see title sequences for movies, especially movies that cost like $1 million like this.
Yeah.
It's artful.
Yeah, and what was the artist's name? Allison.
Oh,
No, like this to let our listeners know, this is the same person who did work on most of your favorite Disney villains. Ursula, oh gosh, oh, I don't think she did the work with Scar.
I mean,
But
she worked on Frozen most recently. Like she has been doing this for a very
if you've
long
seen
time.
Fantasia, one of the last pieces at the end of Fantasia, Bald Mountain.
Yeah, Night on Bald Mountain.
Yeah, Night on Bald Mountain is another, I think, where she takes the most from her work and puts it into the opening sequence for this. But yeah, no, I actually remember being pretty impressed by the opening sequence. I think it went on a little too long.
How dare you?
I know.
Cathy Zelensky is the lady.
Okay, so not Allison, it was Cathy Zelensky.
Yes.
But no, like a unbelievably talented artist. And there apparently was an insane amount of debate as to whether even to include this opening sequence.
Well, not only was there that. Well, I mean, first off, an animated sequence like this is kind of expensive, and when you only have $1 million, it's one of the first things that, as a producer or a director, you want to put it on the chopping block, and you're just like, but I can get an extra 2 nights of shooting for the cost of this whole thing, or I can get X, Y, and Z for this instead. We can, we can. Everybody gets better crafty if we just have a normal title sequence, and the director takes 100% credit when he comes out and says, I was like, he wanted to cut it, and the producers and the writer felt really strongly that they should keep it, and he comes out and says now 100%, I was wrong. Like, I can't imagine this movie without it now. It's fantastic. And I happen to agree. I mean, one of the things that's also really crazy about it is, so at the very last minute, movie had been finished, movie had been sold, and all of a sudden, Mustafa Akkad calls the production. And he's like, hey, your movie, which was originally called Halloween Party, you can't call it Halloween Party because that's infringing on my IP of Halloween. And they were like, well, I mean, okay, but no, sorry. Like, way to be a big.
Are you going to call up the party store and say, I'm sorry, but you can't sell Halloween things now?
Yeah, basically we already have E&O insurance. So like we're fine. We're going to be fine. And he goes, okay, but if you do this, you'll never get E&O insurance again. And they were like, and they decided not to call Mustafa's bluff. And that is why the movie is now called Night of the Demons.
Yeah, and they almost had to like redo the whole thing too, didn't they?
They didn't know. Oh, so what happened is when the movie got its title changed, they had already done the entire damn title sequence, and the machine that they had done it on had already been dismantled and taken back to like Belgium or something. And the motion control camera that they had used to do all of this had been returned months ago. So they were just like, oh, we're going to have to start completely from scratch, because even if you get those machines back, because you're doing everything optically, which means physically, if it's off by like a nanometer, you're going to see the shake. You're going to see the problems with it. You're going to have problems. It's like throwing sand into an engine. It's just going to muck things up. And what they were able to do is take the title Night of the Demons, because that's a bigger title than Halloween Party, just like physically the amount of size that it takes up. And they were able to do a simple optical print just over the title sequence there at the end. And they were able to save that title sequence. And I'm really glad they were, because if they hadn't, they probably just would have been like, well, unfortunately, we lost that money. We're going to go with a normal title sequence because we have to have, the right title on the screen.
Oh, no, but I think I'm glad they kept it. But what's also interesting is the music that they put over that too, because the music was composed by the director's brother, Dennis.
Correct.
Who I think also did music for several other films. I'm trying to remember. They're not coming to mind at the moment. But no, like this was a heavy synth score.
Oh,
like,
again,
which is
the most 80s.
Yeah, the most 80s score that you will ever hear. I don't know. I'm curious to hear your opinion and your thoughts on the cast itself, because I mean, I will say this is a wheelhouse of interesting, if not confusing characters. All the way down to the young brother who just cannot stop commenting on his sister's bodacious boobs.
You're not wrong there. All right. First off, before we talk about them, let's talk real quickly about Harold Ayer. He's the old man who is heckled by some of our cast in the very beginning of the movie, and then bookends the very end of the movie by eating an apple pie with a good old fashioned Halloween tall tale attached to it. And I think he's a ton of fun. He is the perfect crotchety old neighbor man who hates these rapscallion-y kids a whole bunch. Let's see here. I think almost the entire female cast is outstanding. The entire female cast is outstanding. They do a great job of playing up their archetypes well, differentiating themselves from each other, and then they also play the demons differently very well. Now, when it comes to the boys, I would say things are a little more up and down. Yes, we have the younger brother character who cannot stop commenting on his sister's breasts for reasons I, as a brother, do not understand. But hey, I don't know. It was the 80s. I guess it was a different time.
Yeah. And then there was the boyfriend who was so white he's eating vanilla wafers in one of his opening scenes.
Something we should mention. So in the original version of the script, the final two people who make it all the way to the end are Judy and her younger brother. And then literally for just production reasons, they switched it to the way it is in the movie now. And for
kids be expensive.
As kids in a almost completely all night shoot is
good luck on that one.
For everybody who's not in the industry at home, when you're shooting with a child, you are already dealing with limited hours. What is it? Something like 8 hours a day.
Can't go past
maximum.
8 hours.
Yeah, can't go past 8 hours, and they have to have a certain amount of schooling. It's a school day, and it's part of the school year, and there's a bunch of other stuff. And then when you get into night shoots, I think it's even less. You get them for like 6 or 4 hours, and you can only have them for the first couple hours of the night. And so it just becomes a logistical nightmare. And so that was one of the concessions that they were able to get the writer to make, just for, do you want to make the movie or not? And it ended up leading to the ending, which is culturally important, I think, to a certain extent. It outdoes Night of the Living Dead in the fact that the black guy makes it all the way to the end, not just almost all the way to the end.
And he's my favorite.
He's great.
He is the smartest I have no problems with him as a character in general in this film, other than the fact that he has chosen very poor company.
This is Alvin Alexis playing Roger.
Yes. And also he's the only single person at this event. And so, but he's like as a character, he's making all the right choices. he's decided to stay in the car and just wait this fucking film out. And and when that doesn't work, it's like, you know what? He just locks himself in every single room that he can find. He's like, I'm going to put as many surfaces between me and this demon as possible, as opposed to this woman over here who is definitely going to get me killed if I stick around for too long. Like, he doesn't help her up first. He climbs the fucking barbed wire rope up the wall and just like, you know what, bud? Like, yeah. Okay, in this case, like, you have no responsibility for this woman. She's not your partner or anything. Like, man, sometimes you just gotta take care of yourself, because she has pretty much shown you that, like, no, she's trying to get herself killed. This is like, I think she is ultimately like she's got a death sentence.
Well, which performances did you like best?
Gosh, it's,
I mean, other than Alvin, obviously.
Yeah, other than Alvin, I found the old man to be so confusing, but he's so hilariously grumpy. Even when like the leading lady, like, who's super sweet and straight laced, goes to try to help him up, he's like, fuck you, you whore. And like, I'm like, Jesus Christ, no one's good to each other.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those examples of so this and Saved by the Bell both suffer from being like someone born in the 50s idea of what being a teenager in the 80s is like, and they get
someone who writes the word rapscallion.
Yeah, like they get the clothes kind of right, but then they don't get any like the actual 80s parts of this right. But like that, if you're coming to this movie looking for realism, I don't know what to tell you. This isn't where you're going to find it. Like, this is a big goofy movie. I mean, even Hal Havins is Stooge, who isn't great, is kind of fun. He's a great like foil to Billy Gallo's Sal, who like is at least smart enough to be like, all right, these girls are hot, but like, nah, something's up. Like,
sorry, there's a car alarm going on in the background for some reason. Oh, nope, it's gone. Great. Sorry.
Hey.
These people were wondering what the fuck that sound is. Though I will say also, one of my favorite characters is played by the actress Jill Tereshita. It was just the Asian character who is literally just there to have neck snapped.
Yeah.
But she's
having
like
a good time.
She hilariously gets like her lines sprinkled over to her throughout the scene, like as all the characters are talking, then it's just like this random woman out of nowhere, just like, guys, I can't believe we're going to this party. And it's just that moment where you're just like, who the fuck is this? every time she chimed in with a random line that had nothing to do with what was going on, I could not stop laughing, because it was just, I'm like, who is this? Okay, like, she is also like not a good actress, and I think that's just what made it all the better. And then I it was entertaining. And the two leading ladies, of course, were great. There's a
Cathy,
reason why they
Cathy
got
Podewell
brought back for. Sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry, I was just going to say Cathy Podewell as Judy, and Amelia Kinkade as Angela, and Linnea Quigley as Suzanne are ladies.
Okay, Quigley. And one of them was in Return of the Dead, if I'm not mistaken, correct? She was the one dancing in the graveyard.
I think you're right, and I can't remember.
Yes, Return of the Living Dead. And she was also in Silent Night, Deadly Night. She was in Graduate.
This movie is not nearly as good as Return of the Living Dead, but if you like Return of the Living Dead, this definitely goes in the same list of movies you will also probably like.
Yeah, like she.
David,
I think.
Have you seen Return of the Living Dead?
Oh, I have.
Okay,
the one where she's bare naked in the graveyard, like walking down the street, surrounded by extras, completely naked. That poor woman. Her career must have been interesting. She was also in Graduation Day. She like horror royalty, pretty much. yeah, Christ, she's been in a lot of horror movies. It's insane. But yeah, no, this movie had a solid cast of characters. I think the only reason I think it didn't hit for me quite as much is I didn't have that nostalgia attached to it. And so I think, also, it struck me a lot like a duller version of The Evil Dead.
David, is it possible that as a man who literally got married like a week and change ago, that like you're just in the different kind of headspace than what this movie is maybe targeted at? David, would it, let me posit you this. If you had come over to my house for a large Halloween party, of which I was like, we're going to do a bunch of stuff and then we're going to watch this movie as a big old group and we're going to throw popcorn at the screen, you would have enjoyed this movie. Am I not wrong?
You are most likely very right about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there are some, you know, there are some bands who aren't great technically, but doesn't mean it can't be fun at the right party.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. I agree. I think watching this by myself for the most part after a long day at work or after, being exhausted from a long week of work.
Oh, did your wife watch this with you, or did she just happen to come in during the lipstick scene?
I started watching this and she was, I think she was playing on her Nintendo Switch throughout the entire time and would occasionally look up as like one of the most random lines of dialogue would come up. Like eat a bag of fucks.
Great line.
Was one she's like, wait, what? That doesn't even make sense.
So that is actually a reference to the late great John Belushi, who got thrown out, who got suspended from Second City because he just said, yeah, I want to say eat a bag of, or was it eat a bowl of fucks?
Yes, no, sorry, eat a bowl of fucks.
Yeah. And then and they were like, you can't say that. Like, we will absolutely suspend you. And so he just like walked right on stage and was just like, all right, eat a bowl of fucks. No suggestions, nothing from the audience, just first words out of his mouth. And then he was
called their bluff.
Yeah. And then immediately like just sent out the back door, sent right home.
Which is what made John Belushi.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Very much in character. But no, like it, I do remember though, we were like, you mentioned the lipstick scene. I do like that came up. And of course, main actress's tits completely out. And we're like, she's like, oh yeah, nope, there they are.
Yeah.
Like, God, they're really holding on this shot. And then, but I remember just like looking at them, be like, I'm like, no, not a comment on like her choices or anything. Like they seem kind of not judging, like they seem a little far spaced apart. Like, do you think she had like work done or something? And just as Katie's like, yeah, it looks like it might be a little fake. And then she just takes lipstick and pushes it into her neck. And we're like, oh, what?
So that's what's great. Yeah. So
that was
the
a
listeners,
great moment. That I have to give it to the movie. That was amazing. And so it looked real.
Yeah, no. So, all right. I'm not going to spoil how they did it. If you like, because I don't have all the notes in front of me to make sure I get all the P's and Q's right. That's on the making of if you want to find out exactly how they did everything. But what makes the shot and the effect sell is you see this girl, shirt open, breasts exposed. She is drawing on her chest with lipstick, and the camera pushes in. Now, for almost any other movie, when she goes to push the lipstick into her breast, you would cut in to a separate shot, and that just subliminally tells you this is an effect. They've just, it's sort of a magician's, going like ha, and then like trying to like pull something out of his sleeve, and you were like, it might have worked if you hadn't gone ha. It kind of takes away from the effect. What's great about this is they just push in, and you're like, okay, all right, okay, something weird's going to happen. And then it just happens right in front of you, no cuts. And you're like, wait, oh, wow, that's.
Yeah. And there's no
effect.
CG here. CG is not a thing back then.
Yeah.
They're like, it is all practical effects, and that is what is so unbelievably impressive about it. Because yeah, I just remember thinking like, it looks like she had work done. That's the only thing that came to mind. Like,
Yeah, and for an actress of that time, yeah, completely
yeah,
viable, no judgments, and then all of a sudden you just get the rug just yanked right out from under you. You're like, oh my god, ha!
yeah. I love how she talks about the fact that like she didn't want to go to the audition. I think they had to ask her like 4 times before she finally went and like got the job on the spot. But she said it was because I think she was 26 at the time, and she just didn't look like a high schooler. And so she was used to going to auditions and be like, sorry, you're too old to play high school now. And so she just didn't want to bother taking time out of her day to go to an audition that she knew she was going to get told you're too old. Um, but only to realize, oh, it's okay. Nobody looks like they're in high school here.
Mhm.
Like
And
at all. Like
was it Alvin
in the slightest.
Yeah, no. So, I mean, this also shares that with Saved by the Bell or Grease or almost any high school movies, with the exception of I don't know, maybe High School Musical or something. They almost always
Mhm.
have a bunch of 20-year-olds.
Oh yeah, yeah. So you're like, he's like, I think you find that if you go to this audition, you're probably going to get it because everyone looks like they're out of college, not in college. They look like they're out of college, have their own home, probably a family.
Mhm.
Like, um,
One quick
I
story.
love.
Sorry, go on.
I know I was going to say is like I love the scene between the deadbeat boyfriend and her little brother.
Mhm. Oh,
Where it's like,
that seems a ton of
you think
fun.
I'm going to sell my sister out for a measly quarter?
All right, kid, here's $1.
I sold. God damn. Sorry, go ahead. I totally interrupted you, but I
No,
had to just bring that up.
no. It's a great line. Like they have a great dynamic. But I wanted to share one quick story that just came to mind kind of before we start wrapping up here. Alvin, Alexis, Roger, the gentleman who makes it, he basically had come out to LA for a month to try and get his, to try and make it as an actor. And he had a round trip ticket um, to bring him back here a month later, or bring him back to New York from LA a month later. And he got here and things did not work out. And then just as he was about to leave, he got a call. And basically they were like, so we have you here on this audition. We have this audition for you. And it is it is at the time of his plane flight home. So he's out of money. So his option is either fly home and give up the industry or stay. And if he doesn't get this part, he's essentially homeless on the street. And he rolled them dice, and here he is today.
Yeah, and I remember him talking about that, and and good for him. That's one of those rare cases where you're just like, you know what, you miss every shot you don't take.
It's one of those advantages of being in your 20s when you're doing it too. Like it's it's a lot easier to roll the dice then than it is when you're 40.
Yeah, yeah, and not only that, but he got to play a black person in a horror film who traditionally gets killed off in the first 5 minutes. But no, actually turns out not only does he live through the entire film, but he's also kind of like he is like the hero character.
Yeah,
Like
100%.
yeah, it's no, like I think the film trailblazes in more than a couple places. Also with the idea that the leading lady, which one is it who's also a pet psychic?
Oh, I don't remember which one is also a pet psychic. I'm sorry.
Oh gosh, she the goth.
I just closed my notes. David.
Is it not Quigley? No, it's not Quigley. It's the other
Amelia Kinkade.
Amelia Kinkade, who is also a world-renowned pet psychic. Yeah, it is, I think, one thing to note that she is really one of the few female slasher monsters, like kind of on par with Freddy Krueger and Jason and Michael, sort of those entities that were very popular at the time. She was the only female member of that group, so to speak, of like that cult horror film group. And so I think that's another thing that can be taken from this film, is that like, no, it went out there and it did some things that most films of this genre would not take the chance on doing. And I do think that that is worth really appreciating this film and giving it a shot. And really, and yeah, I would recommend to people who are going to watch this with friends, watch this with a couple of adult pops. Have some popcorn with you to throw at the screen. You're gonna have a great time. I don't regret seeing this film. I think my only gripes were like I watched it while tired, and I wish I had been more in the headspace when I first watched it. More
No, I
than
get that.
anything.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. It is one of those movies where you kind of got to meet it where it's at sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. Ken, good sir. Would you mind perhaps regaling me on any possible movies that you might have prepared
Oh, for next
for
week.
week for our poll?
To throw to the people. Yes. I was going to ask if you had one that you wanted to choose, but if you don't have one, I have two.
Okay. Why don't you throw the two at me? I'm curious.
Okay. First off, 1979 Nosferatu Vampire der Nacht by Werner Herzog, starring Klaus Kinski.
Okay.
Okay. And the other one is Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, which I have never seen. I know you have seen, and you had suggested once before. I know I'm going to have a bad time.
It's a dark one.
It needs eventually.
All of our films can't be fun little slashers. Sometimes we gotta get a little deep with this shit.
Yeah. So we'll see. We're gonna throw it to the people at home, the people of Instagram, I guess, and we'll see what they choose. But those are the two movies that are on the docket for next week, depending on what you fine people of the internet choose for us. David, do you have any plugs that you want to plug?
Absolutely. You guys can follow me at _DW Marlowe on Instagram, where I get up to my regular musings. You can follow me and my wife as we go about the adventure of our life, and I know, and but also like some of the sets that I get up to building, which I think are a lot of fun. Despite the sub story I gave at the beginning of this podcast. But Ken, what about you? What can you tell the people about where to find you?
You can check me out on Instagram and Twitter at Ken Stacknick. You can check us out on Twitter at Shutter Show. You can check us out on Instagram at Shutter_show. And you can check us out on YouTube as well. We got our stuff up there. I just got our stuff up on Audible. So if that's what's been holding you back from listening, you can do that. Although I don't know how you're hearing this then. But if you have maybe somebody at home who only listens on Audible and that's what's been holding them back, let them know that we are now on Audible and they can get their Shutter Show from us. David, do you have anything else?
No, Ken. I am all out of ideas. I'm ready to have one more glass of wine and fall asleep.
Sounds good. Ladies and gentlemen of the internet, good night, good luck, and go fuck yourselves.
Get vaccinated.